Welcome back, everyone, to Couch FC, home of Couch Talks. And today we're going to be talking about the Premier League action again. Now, to be honest, I was planning on having a large segment talking about Chelsea, but unfortunately, or fortunately for us, and unfortunately for Chelsea fans, Manchester United decided to lose against Sheffield United. So we'll have to talk about that for a while. To talk about the game, first, way it came out, classic Sheffield United starting 11, and for Man U, you had Cavani on the bench, Shaw was off for Telles, nothing major, maybe, I think, personally, I thought before the game having Cavani on the bench was a bit awkward, because they did have a couple nice games with Cavani playing up front, but at the moment didn't seem to be a pretty big deal. Of course, Sheffield scored, beginning or near halfway on the first half, and pretty shocking, but, I didn't think much of it, thinking that, Man U always concede the first goal and always come back. Did it against Fulham, did it against West Ham and loads of other teams, so I wasn't very afraid. 1-0 to Sheffield going in half time. Second half saying, okay, here you go. Man, you're going to score one, then score another. It's going to finish like 4-1. Harry Maguire scores for 1-1. Thinking, okay, it's going to be good. But then Man U decide to be absolutely shocking in defence. It's Burke who scores the goal, a bit of a deflection, so he's lucky, but the whole action is horrible. It starts from, I think, a cross that gets dealt with when De Gea just sort of passes it out to a Sheffield player, and then the whole of the defence is static. No one comes out. I think there's Pogba in the box marking nobody, just they're completely still. Sheffield score, which is logic, and it kind of felt like Man U were in that mood where, okay, alright, we beat Liverpool on the weekend, we're super good against bad teams, so, Sheffield should just be a walk in the park, and, they got bit pretty severely for that. I think Ole has to take a part of blame, because he's the one who's preparing mentally the players for this type of game, and he just didn't get it right today. And I think a player like Cavani, especially in the second half of the season where every game's going to be so important, you can't leave him on the bench. When he came off the bench, Man U, something clicked already, and there was a bit more movement, etc. Cavani just brings that movement where, Greenwood's kind of the same sort of player as Rashford, and it didn't work well against a defence like Sheffield, where you're not going to have much space to run in deep because they sit back so low. It's not like a Liverpool where you're going to have Robertson and Trent who are going to be going forward every time. You're not going to have that with Sheffield. So I think tactically Ole didn't do well there, and he has to be part to blame. Of course, the players weren't good enough either. Fernandes had another game where he doesn't influence it enough, I feel like. It's very weird, because Fernandes seems to switch off on a couple games out of nowhere for no apparent reason, and it takes nothing away from the season he's been having, but when it comes to the second half, it's going to be some real important games, and if your best player keeps on switching off in these big moments, like when you're 2-1 down against Sheffield, it's going to be a talking point. And then to move on to Sheffield, well, for them it's huge 3 points. So that's 8 points out of 20 games. Honestly, you never know. I'd say we've seen crazier things in the Premier League. They've got City next. If they can get a result from that, I'm sure the players will already be over the moon. who knows? Sheffield are definitely a team to keep an eye on, and maybe teams are going to stop taking the Sheffield fixture for granted now and take the team more seriously, which in a way could actually not be good for Sheffield, because they should really bank on the fact that people are still underrating them. But of course, that's to see. So then, on the game I wanted to talk about in first place, the Chelsea Wolves game, Tuchel's first game as Chelsea manager. Now, didn't expect to see huge changes in the tactics, etc., because it's only been one day since he's had training with them. But, I like the starting 11. Havertz in the 10 role. You had Callum Hudson-Odoi on the right, and I forgot who played left. It'll come back to me, but for me it was a very good start in 11. Now, they had some nice moves in there. I think it hasn't clicked yet because maybe these players aren't very used to playing with each other. Interesting, I think, to see that Werner didn't play at all in this game. When Giroud came off, it was for Abraham, and it didn't bring much. But it will be interesting to see what exactly Tuchel's game plan is, if he'll keep the same 11 in their next game as well. So I'm optimistic for Chelsea, I think, because it can't be as bad as it was for Lampard, and Tuchel's more tactically astute than Lampard, and I think with the players he has, Tuchel will be able to find a starting 11 which he loves. And any starting 11 with Callum Hudson-Odoi in it for me is a good sign for Chelsea, because I think he's one of their best players. So yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. Mount, I think in that number 10 role he tried Havertz today, but I think Mount, when he came on, he was much more vibrant than Havertz, even if Havertz did had that one run in the first half. But of course he still has the same problems Lampard does, but I think he'll be more cutthroat and ultimately get the best out of the team, because I do want to see Chelsea play well. I think with the talent they have in the squad, it would be a shame for us not to see them at 100%, just to see what they can do altogether. Then moving on the other games, so Leicester draw with Everton. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see that game at all because I was all eyes on Man U. But I guess it's two pretty evenly matched teams. Interesting to see which one of them stays in the top 6 or even top 4 this season. I think they both have a pretty good chance. If Everton can get James Rodriguez back in form, especially, that would be big, with Calvert-Lewin coming back from injury. That's big as well. Then you got the Fulham-Brighton game, which I did watch a big part of. Fulham lucky to get a point from that, I feel, because Brighton were honestly all over them. It's kind of, Brighton have had these sort of games all season long where they absolutely dominate but can't score that goal that would make them win. And ultimately, I don't think Brighton will go down, because up front I think they can score more goals than Fulham can. But it's going to be a close call. I wouldn't put my house on it. But it's going to be difficult for them, honestly. But you still have to see where that goes. And so for the last game, of course, yes, Burnley Aston Villa. Again, wasn't really able to watch that one either, because I was watching the Chelsea game. But pretty disappointed for Villa, because leading 2-1, get clawed back from Burnley. But I guess this practically guarantees Burnley to stay another year in the Premier League. Yeah, everyone's super happy. No disrespect, Burnley fans, of course, but no one really likes their club. But disappointment for Villa. But you'll take the result in the grand scheme of the season. You're already overperforming from what everybody predicted. So yeah. Pretty long episode today, but at the same time, a lot of games, a lot of interesting things happened. I will see you guys tomorrow, where we have a big one, Liverpool-Tottenham, and we'll see who comes out on top.